Hey, how's it going? I'm back for more pain. Bows are my favourite weapon to use in most medieval games. Something about them just attracts me. It feels cool to use the medieval equivalent of a railgun and take down enemies or other players from far away. This love for bows also extends to the From Software catalogue as well. The issue there is that the bows in these games, for the most part, all suck. They fire slow, have very little damage, and force the player to move really slowly. They also do only one damage type, thrust, meaning a lot of enemies will just straight up tank the bolt. They haven't had the best track record throughout the series, but I still really like them for some reason. Because they're so bad, inevitably, challenge runs based around only archery have long since circulated. The thing is, all these challenges focus on just getting through the challenge, not actually realizing the true power of the weapons. Today, I'm going to beat Dark Souls Remastered with only a bow, with the purpose being to not just beat the game, but really show how powerful and useful they can be. To really up the odds, however, I'm going to beat Dark Souls Remastered with not just only using a bow, but without leveling up at all, meaning no scaling and only bows I can use with my starting level. Let's get to it. Starting off at the Asylum. My starting class is Hunter, for his bow, and my gift is the Master Key. Before I keep going, let's go over the rules. Standard stuff, I can only deal damage with a bow, but all equipment is allowed. All integral bosses must be beaten, and no glitches or exploits. Anyways, on to the run. It's really just same old at the Asylum, and before long I make my way to Firelink. My first stop is the Composite Bow, the highest damaging bow I can use with my stats. It's hidden inside of Oenolander, which I make my way towards. After dying a few times, I eventually grab it and head up through Darkroom. With a few souls I grabbed along the way, I upgrade the bow up to +3, then head towards the parish. It's the usual here as well. I unlock the Firelink shortcut, then head towards the Berg. Then, because my brain has been replaced by a cantaloupe, I roll off the edge instead of grabbing the ladder shortcut. My original plan was to get a +5 fire bow before doing any bosses, but I guess not anymore. With my change of plans, I go after the Taurus Demon. It's the Taurus Demon. What do you want me to say? Easy boss. I say hi to Solaire, but decide not to talk to him. I'd like to spare him from his fate, at least once. I then grab the shortcut, and after farming at the dragon a little while, I head over to Andre to +5 my bow. After freeing Lautrec, I make my way up to the gargoyles to test out my new damage. More than enough. I beat the gargoyles pretty soundly, without taking damage as well. After ringing the bell, I head back into Firelink to politely ask for the ring from Lautrec. He obliges after taking a trip down to Blighttown, and after reloading, I grab the ring. I'm not planning for this to be integral to my build. I have 3 other rings in mind for that, but the boost is nice for now. Or well, it would be nice if I actually remembered to equip it, which I literally didn't do until after Quelaag. Whoops. Anyways, with the first bell rung, I head down to Blighttown. After farming the slugs in the corner for a bit, I grab 10 green shards for the next chapter of my build. Also, for gits and shiggles, I try to take out Quelaag with almost no supplies or upgrades. I get her painfully close to death, but run out of arrows right in the last chunk of her health. Oh well. I needed to head somewhere else anyways. Speaking of, I head into the catacombs. After eventually making it down to Vamos, I use the shards to grab a +5 fire composite bow. Now, my damage is really coming together, and this is the chunk of the game where my bow starts to shine. Also, before I leave, I try to get to Pinwheel early, but never get close. After being very angry for several minutes, I head back up to Firelink, then back down to Quelaag for a serious attempt. Now, Quelaag is completely immune to fire, but the physical damage is actually higher on a +5 fire bow than a regular bow, considering I have 0 scaling. Just to clear up why I'm using a fire weapon against the fire boss. After dying again, I decide to leave Quelaag on the to-do list, and head down to the lower berg. Capra Demon poses no real issue with how much damage I do, so after beating him, I grab a few more large arrows, then head back down to try Quelaag again. After dying again, I decide on a slightly different strategy, one a lot more complex and requiring a lot more nuance than anything I had previously. Yeah, I just cheesed her. She gets stun locked if you shoot her body, so I just did that for 5 minutes. A win is a win is a win. With the second bell rung, I make my way into the Fortress of Fun. After making it through completely flawlessly, I take out the giant throwing boulders, then kite the iron golem around the arena. Pretty similar tactics to my sniper crossbow run. I just stay at the perfect distance to bait out a melee attack, but not trigger the wind blast. With the iron golem down, it's time for the next chapter of the run. Oenolander is always scary, but I'm much less afraid of the city and its inhabitants this time, with the far more usable weapon in my hands. This is the chunk of the game where my low base health and stamina really start to get in the way, but it isn't an issue yet. I make my way through the painting area, which was extremely cathartic, because I can actually aim with my ranged weapon this time. Also, the last guy for some reason gave up and tried to run away. His sense of responsibility and desperate impulse to escape seemed to grapple with each other as he hung motionless in place on the ladder. A stray arrow gave him the courage to fight for the painting's safety, and then several more stray arrows destroyed it. Very inspiring. After that, I make my way towards the cathedral. Several attempts at making it to the arches later, I equip my biscuit and convince the archer that the Silksong release date is actually in the void deep below. Desperate as Silksong fans are, he dives straight in and I make it into the cathedral. This bonfire is one of my favourite moments in the game. Solaire warmly greeting you in a cozy room right after making it inside. It's sad and lonely without him here, but at least I know he's safe. With that, I head towards what I'm hoping will be a far easier time than last run. Ornstein and O. With my firebow, I do a ton of damage to both Slam and Jam, especially when they attempt to dodge. The bow also shoots faster and recovers decently fast, giving me far more attack opportunities than in my previous run. There are two main issues with this fight, however, and unfortunately both are disadvantages not present in my sniper-only run. The bow is two-handed, meaning I can't block attacks that I fail to dodge in time, and this compounds with my low health at level 1. The one good thing is that my stamina regenerates after the arrow fires, so usually I'll have enough stamina to dodge once if I shoot. The first phase of this fight is still a very large challenge, as the smallest mistake really does mean an instant death with my level 1 stats. Also, since my bow fires quite quickly, I can't instantly react to a lot of Smo's attacks, as his hammer will just straight up block them, which wasn't an issue before, as the crossbow takes years to fire. Also, I forgot to mention, but I switched to fire arrows at this point, because using the corresponding ammo type with an elemental bow actually gives a damage boost, the same way the moonlight bow gets one with moonlight arrows. All in all, the fight is difficult, but far less punishing than it previously was, and I make it to phase 2 after only a few deaths. I catch Super Ornstein in a loop, but end up dying after a fair and balanced death with a fair and balanced hitbox. I try again, and on my next try, Ornstein doesn't know how to counter me and dies after throwing 800 lightning spears. With Slam and Jam down, my next few upgrades are open for the taking, and after Guinevere gives me a warm welcome, I grab the Lord Vessel and get ready for the Lords. My first stop is Darkroot. I take out the butterfly for access to the Divine Ember, then grab the Ninja Ring, an extremely good upgrade to my mobility. With my extremely low base health and stamina, getting more value out of a single dodge roll is my priority. I also say goodbye to the ring, in favour of the Leo ring, a decent boost to my damage. I also grab the hat. You already knew I was going to get the hat. Before I leave Darkroot, I go after Sif, who, while nimble, doesn't have high enough health to resist my arrows. I always feel sad putting her down, and I still really wish that the remaster added a way to save her if you did the DLC first. Anyways, with Sif resting with Artorias, I grab a ton of fire arrows and head down to the depths. This is an area I will become intimately familiar with as this run goes on, and as such, after grinding for a little humanity, I take out the dragon and gladly leave. Also, I consider grabbing Power Within for this bow to greatly increase my damage and stamina, but I don't have any achievement slots at level 1. Oh well. Anyways, after using a ton of humanity, which I can't wait to farm later on, I open up the shortcut. I then kill Ceaseless, then grab the Chaos Ember from the Taurus Harem. Now, you can see where I'm going with this, and what I truly mean by intimately familiar with humanity grinding. Anyways, after that, I head down and begin even more grinding! These little shitheads drop red chunks, which I need for my fully upgraded bow. I spend an excruciating amount of time farming. Then once I have a few, grab the red slab after getting lost in the maze for a bit. With all the pieces together, I head to Vamos and get a +5 Chaos Composite bow. Alongside the Leo ring, 10 humanity and my fire arrows, I have an extremely high damage output for a fast firing ranged weapon. Power Within, with its 40% boost, would have made it even better. But oh well, I didn't really want it anyways, to be honest. At this point, I'm feeling super confident. My damage is so high, I intend to just breeze through the tomb. I end up dying to Pinwheel and losing all of my humanity. I try to make it back down to recover it, but get absolutely torn to pieces, losing all of them. I'm just gonna move on, the memory is just causing too much pain. Instead, I just go for the easiest one of the Lords, the Bed of Chaos. I skip both Fire Sage and the Centipede, as both are extremely easy, and if I can beat them with the Sniper Crossbow with a quarter of the DPS I have, then they'll be even easier now, so I can't be bothered. I head into the bed of chaos, and after a very fun 15 minutes spent dying, then running through the shortcut for 4 minutes, the First Lord goes down. After that, I try to reclaim my honor, and head back to Nito. He poses a very large problem. Well, not him, but these dickheads. They attack fast, do bleed damage, and interrupt every single shot. They also don't die in one hit, because why would they? That'd be too easy in a bow-only level 1 run that's already extremely easy and stress-free. I decide to upgrade another bow to Divine, in order to somehow deal with the skeletons. It's so incredibly hard to take one out, as my Divine bow does almost no damage with 0 scaling. I have to shoot first with my main bow, then shoot with the Divine bow 2 or 3 times. All the while dodging Nito and the other 2 skeletons, and somehow do that before Nito kills them, and my progress resets. It's extremely aggravating, and I die constantly just trying to take out the skeletons. Eventually, I finally get finishing blows on all 3, then easily beat Nito after taking only 1 hit. The skeletons are always the real boss in this fight, especially for my build. That makes 2 souls down, 2 to go. I'm already predicting the 4 kings to be awful, so I go for Seath first, after setting up the path to the DLC. Nothing special to say here. I died to the clam first try, then easily beat Seath once they can't get in. Easy. 1 left. Ugh. I drain the water, then wholly unprepared for how awful it would be, I head down into the abyss to face my mortal enemy. I knew this fight would be awful. My damage is just slightly too little to kill one at a time. And half the time my arrows will just sail over their shoulder. Couple that with my low health, and you have a fight entirely stacked against me. I try so hard to just focus 1 king, but get magic to death, or slashed from behind every time.
Audio Jungle.
This purple orb attack is the main reason this fight is awful. I can't dodge it, because in the time it takes for it to respawn, the other kings will join the fight. The animation for casting it causes my arrows to miss, and it also does my whole health bar. Every time effectively the king uses this move, it's a guaranteed flask gone, and also a guaranteed spawn for the next king, as I can't damage them fast enough to account for the time I spend being knocked down by it. This isn't even mentioning their sword moves that reach through the whole effective range of my arrows, meaning a badly timed shot is my health bar gone. They also roll catch me fairly consistently, which coupled with the hit stun from my 0 poise is an instant death every time. This is only 1 king, by the way. Couple all that with the fact that this fight is a race against time, and the difficulty just gets ridiculous. I sat down and tried for something like 3 hours, but could not find a solution. Normally, I would use the stone armor, but being at level 1, I would have no ability to dodge, which is central for the fight. Also, the run back was incredibly annoying. I got body blocked by this one ghost at the elevator every single time, and the Dark Wraiths one-shot me if I rolled at the wrong time. This is a fight that felt impossible to win, coupled with a run back that took about 5 minutes, with constant chip damage from the enemies based on pure chance if they did the wrong attack while I ran past. Then, to further add to the problem, if I died on the way, I'd lose 10 humanity, forcing me to farm again and again and again, just to deal decent damage. This fight was honestly even worse than the sniper crossbow, and almost entirely due to the fact that I was level 1 and couldn't take a single attack without destroying the attempt. I took a break, cried into the bathroom sink, then came back to try again. This time, I stuck close and relentlessly shot with the Leo ring. While I did get one-shotted if I dodged wrong, I was slowly but surely wearing a single king down at a time. Eventually, I'd have to retreat as too many spawned, but eventually, I finally won. Oh my god, I can't express it that well in a YouTube video, but my relief was physically fucking solid. I felt so much relief that I didn't have to fight the kings anymore, or run back to them, that I could have literally physically held the sheer amount of relief I felt in my hands. It was that massive. Oh. Anyways, I could finally move on to the better chunk of the game. If you were keeping up, you could tell I skipped a few bosses. I skipped the Stray Demon because 1, I hate backtracking, and I absolutely hate that boss. He isn't hard, but is extremely tedious, and after the Kings you can probably imagine how I felt about fighting him. I also skipped Priscilla, because she told me she actually was out of the Painted World at that moment, buying a maid outfit, so there was no point going there to look for her. I also skipped Gwendolyn, as despite my animalistic impulses telling me to dominate any femboy existing within the same hemisphere as me, he told me he has a date with some slime in about 100,000 years, so I respected his boundaries and bid him good wishes. With nothing left but the final chunk of the game, I pressed on. The Guardian was quite easy. Low base health and several punishable attacks meant he went down easily, and I got him on my second try. Now for the real DLC. I head over to the Colosseum feeling more confident than last time, but not arrogant. Before I take on the Abyssal Knight, I grab Chester's armor after politely asking him to give it to me. Oh my god, this looks sick. How have I never tried Faris's hat with Chester's set? Literally looks amazing with the bow. Anyways, on to Artorias. Wow. This fight was so much more fun and fair than the sniper crossbow run. For one, my arrows hit almost every time, which was a huge plus. I could also punish twice as many attacks, with the much faster animation, and could pretty consistently stop Artorias' buff animation. It actually felt extremely fair to use a bow at level 1, for the first time in the run. I did high damage, and had high dodge potential, but a single mistake meant dying instantly. It was actually extremely fun, and this fight was fairly easy, considering my own skill at fighting Artorias had grown considerably after spending hours on him before. On the third try, I lay the knight to rest. Okay, 3 to go. I make my way through Ultrakill and have a ton of fun being one-shotted by the sorceresses. At least I look cool doing it. After grabbing the usual necessities, I make my way into the Chasm of the Abyss, and after saving Sif, I make my way towards Manus. This time, Manus poses a large challenge. I deal small damage, and he has the highest health pool in the game. Normally, that isn't an issue, and I can just wear him down. The issues here, however, is the same as the ONS fight. I have no shield, and I must scream. No, really, I have no shield, my bow needs 2 hands, and I scream at the amount of times I die to him. There's nowhere to go with my build, so unfortunately I just have to be better. The dark magic poses a very large issue here, as the hit stun coupled with high damage means I either react perfectly or die trying. It isn't too hard though, and despite Manus curb stomping me several times, I eventually come out on top. 2 bosses left. Little did I know how idiotically long this would take me. After Goff shows off his Widowmaker skills,
Hello.
I head into the valley to take on the Black Dragon and the scourge of this run, Calamine. Ugh, this guy is an issue. Extremely high damage, check. Extremely high hit stun, resulting in an instant death, check. Knockdown attacks that true combo into other attacks, check. Large health pool, check. Weird jank on his attacks that make him hard to predict, with a wrong prediction meaning death, check. This fight just absolutely sucked the life out of me. Just like how I wish the Gaping Dragon would. I spent hours just grinding this fight over and over. The worst part was that I continuously got extremely close to beating him, just to die because Calamine got stuck on a rock and blasted fire at the pinpoint exact location I was dodging to. His fire both knocked me down and stunned me, meaning if I got hit by it, I died from the damage or from the next attack while stunned. No exceptions. I can work with that, but the real issue was predictability. Damage and health are just numbers at the end of the day, and becomes zero concern when you understand your attack windows and the moveset pool of the boss. Calamine didn't fit in that category! He was so unpredictable, and his moves will get stuck on the arena, or have hitboxes that begin the instant the attack animation plays. The absolute worst one was this straight fire attack. It's supposed to fire directly at me, as a way to punish heals and ranged builds. This is fine and would have served as the best attack window for me, if it didn't randomly change directions sometimes. About 3/4 of my deaths were dying to this dumbass attack. The fight played out the same every time. I would get Calamine low, then I would die to a janky fire breath attack. It was so frustrating, made even more so by the fact that it didn't feel fair at all. The actual game was messing with me. To even further delay me, my bow kept breaking, just so that I had to restart that attempt and waste time repairing it. This fight took even longer than the Four Kings did. The run overall was about 15 hours, and this fight was 5 or 6 of them. It was so ridiculously annoying getting so close, then dying to old game jank. Finally, I beat the dragon. I wanted to feel relieved. I wanted to feel happy, but I felt nothing. The black dragon had taken every shred of happiness from my body, to the point that I didn't even go tell Goff that I had killed him. It wouldn't be right to go tell him, as the person that set out to kill Calamine, that person from so many moons ago, was long dead, with sanity long since buried. As a shell of my former self, I set out for Firelink Shrine for the last time. Normally I'd make some sad speech about the lonely, sad old god, hopelessly guarding the kiln, barely holding back his fear of the dark and the era of gods ending. But I am so tired, I just don't care at all, and I just run straight through the kiln. I'm so close to this run ending, and I have only one obstacle left: Gwyn. This guy poses a large issue. He does enough damage to 2 or sometimes 1-tap me, and can close distances extremely quickly. The first issue is a fairly consistent one, the second is not. It's very hard to deal with what is effectively Sonic the Hedgehog lit on fire, but after a bit of trial and error, I realized the solution. Gwyn is coded to jump and dodge every single ranged attack, but he jumps too slow to dodge an arrow. Couple this with the fact that while dodging, you take extra damage, and you have the solution to this fight. I just have to dodge Gwyn's lunge and jump slash, react quickly enough for the quick slash, then lay arrows into him when he tries to dodge. Once I figure it out, it only takes a few more tries for the sad old god to finally give up. I link the fire, and with my drip reapplied, become one with the flame. Oh my god, I'm so glad that's over. The thing that's really funny though is that this run was mainly difficult because of my low stats, not my bow. If I had actually leveled myself up throughout the game, mainly into health, then I would have absolutely curb stomped everything in my path, including Calamine. That should show how good bows and crossbows really are. Honestly, while they definitely are hard to use at level 1, they provide enough range and damage that no matter the challenge imposed, they still are extremely useful. I really do love using them, but oh my god, never again at level 1. To close things out, I'll talk about the best and worst moments of this run. The best was easily Artorias and ONS. Artorias was just a really fun fight as per usual, but ONS felt great because I could finally actually dodge and get off attacks in time. It really made it much more easy and fun than the crossbow run. The worst experiences were Calamine and the Four Kings. Having such little health combined with a somewhat slow weapon made the Kings brutal to beat, and it just sucks fighting multiple enemies, especially that stupid purple homing thing. Calamine honestly would have been super fun without his weird jank, but it felt so cruel to die from a janky flame attack when Calamine was 2 shots away from dead. All in all, I definitely had more fun this run than the last. Lastly, if you enjoyed the video, do subscribe. I've got a lot more of this style of content in the pipeline, so if you enjoyed it, subscribe, like the video, and comment down below how charismatic and succulent my voice is. See you next time.